What's going on, everyone? Echidna Power here. It's no secret to anyone that the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise is rife with stories that capture the imaginations of old and new fans alike. No matter when you got into the franchise, there's likely at least one story that you look back on that you point to and say, yep, that's why I'm a Sonic fan. Or at least it's a small part of it. I know there are gameplay purists out there. But it's also no secret that Sonic stories are rife with plot holes that can make people like me go ballistic trying to piece it all together. That's why SEGA saw it fit to put together a dedicated lore team. Their mission? Piece together all the fragmented bits of Sonic history to turn them into one cohesive, long-running story. Simple, right? I consider myself a storyteller, someone who looks at the stories that have been told and tries to ponder the question of what if, and then I do my best to answer that question in a way that's entertaining to the common consumer. That's a more dignified way and fancy way of saying I write fanfiction, but so what? Fanfiction is fun, doggone it. When Sonic Dream Team came out on December 5th, 2023, written by Dan Rosati and of course veteran Sonic writer Ian Flynn, it came out to fairly positive reviews, nothing spectacular, but games designed for iOS exclusivity aren't exactly known for their gripping tales of drama and excitement. I mean, I could be wrong about that. I pretty much only play Pokemon Masters on my Android, so sue me. What made Dream Team such a fascinating concept, to me at least, was how dreams were the main theme of the game. It introduced a brand new character by the name of Ariem, a self-proclaimed dream weaver and guardian of an ancient device known as the Reverie, a device that has the power to make dreams become reality, but only for those who are deemed pure of heart and have only the best of intentions. That was an excellent excuse to be able to reintroduce young Cream the Rabbit back to the games. After all, who in the Sonic universe has more innocence and kindness packed into one tiny package than Cream? But remember how I mentioned that there are plot holes everywhere within Sonic? We already have a game that deals with dreams and their significance. Most of you watching this already know what I'm talking about. Released in the year 2000, over 20 years ago, is the undeniably controversial Dreamcast exclusive party game, Sonic Shuffle. Now, we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty when it comes to Sonic Shuffle as a whole. That's a video for another time, and believe me, there will be a video about that another time. What I wanted to focus on right now was the admittedly bare-bones lore provided throughout Sonic Shuffle story mode, and how it can connect to Sonic Dream Team over 20 years later. At first glance, it looks like the two games directly contradict each other. Each game has a completely different explanation for how dreams work. In Sonic Shuffle, the Precious Stone created Imaginary World, which Lumina explains is
a world created from the dreams of those from other dimensions.
Meanwhile, in Sonic Dream Team, Ariem is the guardian of the Reverie and pulls her strength from Dream Orbs and the Dream Core, which Sonic and friends have to gather to give Ariem back her strength and keep Eggman from turning his evil dreams into reality and make sure that everybody wakes up safely. Each dream is separated from each other, so it seems, and Ariem can help the team navigate each dreamscape with a skill called Dream Weaving. But in spite of how the two explanations seem so different from each other, there's actually a very easy way to tie the two together. But before I explain how that goes, just wanted to quickly mention that it'd be really great if you could leave a like and subscribe so the YouTube algorithm knows that this video is cool. Really help me out if you did. So first we have to highlight the difference in context between the two games. In Sonic Shuffle, Sonic and his friends receive a message from Lumina and are transported through a strange portal to Imaginary World, which again is
a world created from the dreams of those from other dimensions.
But at no point does it seem that Sonic and friends actually fell asleep, unless you count the post-story credit scene where Sonic is seen in the forest, seemingly waking up from a nap. But none of the other members of the cast are seen as groggy. In fact, Amy appears to be sitting down for a cup of tea at a bistro of sorts in Station Square. Doesn't exactly scream, "I was taking a nap in the middle of nowhere." So rather than dreaming the whole adventure, Sonic and the others were physically brought to Imaginary World via Lumina's power. Sonic Dream Team, on the other hand, has the cast actually falling asleep and being brought into dreamscapes within Eggman's dream, and Ariem has to weave them all together to reunite them. That's the first big contrast. Imaginary World is depicted as this massive dream universe where the dreams of every being in existence collide, whether they're in Sonic's world or not. Think of it as the multiverse of dreams. Imaginary World is the central hub of dreams, and Illumina is the one who presides over it. What Sonic and his friends are navigating in Sonic Dream Team, however, seems to be based on whatever Eggman's dream is, so the scope is much narrower. And it also makes perfect sense that this dream of Eggman's is just another dream that will be added to the hundreds of trillions of dreams that already make up the entirety of what Imaginary World is. Then there's Ariem herself, and the Reverie. The Reverie, once again, is described as an ancient relic that, as Ariem explains,
it turns the dreams of the pure-hearted into reality.
But who built the Reverie to begin with? For it to be that technologically advanced and yet exist for such a vast period of time, it had to have been made by beings who don't live on Sonic's world anymore. One could make the argument that the ancients had something to do with it, but it seems that a device that could make dreams come true would be a powerful enough tool that they wouldn't need to spend all their efforts trying to create titans powerful enough to combat the end. Why not just change reality on a whim like Eggman intended to do? As advanced as they were, the ancients don't make much sense in this situation. So what I submit to you all is that the Reverie was created millennia ago, long before even the ancients arrived on what would eventually be Sonic's world. The Reverie was dreamed up, or created, by Illumina herself, as a means of interacting with the citizens of worlds across the cosmos. Each world has its own Reverie machine, and was used as a way to give those most deserving of its power their greatest desire, channeling the power of the precious stone itself to make their dreams become real. But as time passed and civilizations began to evolve, it soon became clear that not everyone saw the Reverie as a simple means of bridging gaps. It could also be used as a way to subjugate and destroy. Therefore, Illumina created a contingency plan. For the Reverie of Sonic's world, that contingency plan was none other than Ariem. For thousands of years, Ariem acted as the guardian of the Reverie, rejecting all the dark or just selfish wishes of those who tried to take advantage of its power. And as the years passed, the Reverie became little more than a waste of time, as no one on the planet could use its power due to their inability to fool Ariem into believing their intentions were pure and noble. As a result, the Reverie faded into little more than a memory, and over thousands of years it was hidden to the world with little more than ancient carvings telling of its existence to hint that it was ever there. Many, many years later, the Reverie is discovered by none other than Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Fresh off of his defeat at the hands of Sonic and his friends at the end of Sonic Adventure, his egg carriers in ruins, chaos now lost to the afterlife, or so he believed, and his resources squandered, Eggman stumbles upon the Reverie deep in a cave of an unexplored portion of the Mystic Ruins. The device is slightly buried due to the enormous length of past time, but is otherwise no worse for wear. Eggman quickly recognizes this is advanced technology and seizes it as his own. He takes the Reverie back to his base, and after careful examination and translation of the carvings on the walls of the cave, Eggman realizes what this thing can do, and decides to do everything he can to activate the machine and attempt to make his dream real. He finally succeeds, and Ariem is caught off guard by the sudden reactivation of the Reverie. It's after all been several millennia since its last use, tens of thousands of years have passed. And Eggman's dreams are especially vile. Just dreams of subjugation, dreams of destruction, dreams of people suffering at his hands. She's quick to act and shut down the doctor's efforts, but it's already too late. The essence of Eggman's dark dreams are already being sent through the pipes of the dreamscape in the form of imagination, the very essence that forged the precious stone and in turn, Imaginary World itself. Eggman's influence reaches the Precious Stone, and the light inside the temple fades, shocking Illumina and causing her despair. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Imaginary World is meant to be a safe haven of light for all dreamers, and now the light is gone. As a result, Illumina involuntarily splits into two beings, one which is the fairy Lumina Flowlight, and the other being Void, the embodiment of
anger, sadness, despair, and emptiness.
All Void wants is to be whole again, and attempts to touch the Precious Stone and be merged back into it. But as Lumina rejects what he represents, the Precious Stone instead shatters, and Imaginary World begins to twist into a corrupted opposite version of itself, and will eventually cave in on itself, ceasing to exist. The rest of the story you know. Lumina sends out a distress message, sending mysterious cards out into the waking world, and Sonic and his friends respond and come to the rescue, soon setting things right. It makes sense that something would have to happen for Illumina to suddenly lose herself after who knows how long. Eggman's dark influence passing through the Reverie and getting by Ariem would be a reasonable explanation. As for Eggman himself, he still participates in the story of Sonic Shuffle, as you all know, appearing and disappearing at random like a nightmare, causing chaos as the team tries to recover the Precious Stone. Since the source of Imaginary World's power is gone, Ariem has no strength to repel Eggman. But he also can't make his dreams come true, because it's the Precious Stone that gives the Reverie the power to make dreams real. So instead, he elects to hinder the heroes as much as he can, taking notes along the way. This forces the team to defeat nightmares during their quest, collecting Force Jewels, gems of remarkable power that assist them in leveling the playing field and counteracting Eggman's nightmarish influence. Once the Precious Stone is restored and Illumina returns to her true form, Ariem's power returns as well, and she cuts Eggman off from the reverie entirely. Meanwhile, in the form of Lumina, the fairy goes through a portal into Sonic's world, watching from afar as her heroes go on their next adventure. She knows now that if anything were to happen in the Land of Dreams again, she has friends she can count on to make things right. After that debacle, Eggman abandons the Reverie project for now and moves on to the next thing, which is the events of Sonic Adventure 2, Project Shadow, and everything that happens after. But meanwhile, in order to prevent anything like that from happening again, Illumina deems it fit to use some of the imagination flowing into Imaginary World to forge many mini Precious Stones, which basically act as reservoirs of power and will allow the Dream-Weaving Guardians to maintain their power even if they're forced to cut themselves off from the main Precious Stone and activate the Dormancy Protocol in order to preserve the safety of Imaginary World. Those Dream Orbs that Sonic and his friends collect throughout the events of Sonic Dream Team, they're shards of that mini Precious Stone given to Ariem by Illumina. Eggman's diabolical plan to infiltrate the dreamscape through Cream and try to access the Precious Stone's power and make his dream come true again caused a clash between him and Ariem. That's why Ariem already knows who Eggman is and talks about how no matter how many times he tries, he will not succeed. So Eggman attempted to neutralize her power entirely, but he only managed to succeed in weakening her since he was again caught off guard by the attempt. In a last-ditch effort, Ariem used almost all of her stored power to put Eggman to sleep and try to trap him in a dreamscape, shattering her personal Precious Stone inside the Dream Core. It takes everything she has left to put Sonic and his friends to sleep when they arrive to rescue Cream, but she's confident that things will turn out right. After all, her creators are good personal friends of Sonic and most of the others. Once she's eventually reunited with the Dream Core and her restored Precious Stone, Ariem is able to activate the Dormancy Protocol, shutting down the Reverie and effectively ending the events of Sonic Dream Team. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my interpretation of how the two games mesh together into one cohesive dream world. Ariem's mysterious creators could easily be Illumina, that is, Lumina and Void, and the Dream Orbs are Precious Stone shards. After all, if the Master Emerald can be shattered and put back together, why not a Precious Stone? So what do you all think of my theory? Does it make sense? Did I miss a plot hole somewhere? Or do you all have your own ideas of how the games can come together? Leave a comment down below and tell me your thoughts. And don't forget to follow me on all my socials and be sure to subscribe for more videos coming soon. Until then, see you next time.